I'm giving for my son Brandon, who is type 1 diabetic and is 11 years old.
Hi, we are the Garfinkel family. We are giving to JDRF to help find a cure and to support
our daughter Sky.
My sister Sky. That's me.
Hi, my name is Meredith, and this is my husband Adam.
And we give for our son Declan.
We walk, we ride, and we gala in the hopes of finding a cure for type 1 diabetes for our daughter Caroline, diagnosed at age 8, now 16, diagnosed on Father's Day and our 17th wedding anniversary. So we love to raise money to help find a cure for type 1 diabetes.
Hi, I'm Josh Grossman, a board member of the Central Ohio JDRF chapter. I'm giving today to find a cure, so that future generations like my son Jack don't have to worry about T1D.
Hi everyone, I'm giving for all the T1D kids that I've taken care of over the years, with the hope that we can find a cure so they don't have to do this anymore, and they don't have to do this anymore. Oh no, Winola's gonna kill me.
Hi, I am giving for Maribel, who's had diabetes for 6 years. Someday I hope to say she's been cured for 6 years.
I am giving for our patients who are searching for meaning in the chaos.
Hey folks, I'm Ken Boyer. Thank you so much for coming to our virtual gala. I've been type 1 diabetic for 41 years. That's why I'm involved in giving. Let's cure this thing before I have it for 50 years. Thank you.
Tonight, I'm giving for this girl.
We give for our son Bryce, who was diagnosed at age 13. Cheers.
Hi, I'm Kelly Schmidt. I'm giving to JDRF because they not only are working on finding a cure, but they're helping make this disease less hard, and they're trying to prevent it in the first place. Thank you, JDRF, for working so hard and for all of us with type 1 diabetes.
We're giving for our son Brian, who was 7 when he was diagnosed.
And with the advancements supported by JDRF, Brian was able to go on and become a Division I football player.
Please help us fund a cure.
We all give to support T1D research.
My name is Brad Schuer, coming to you from Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm a member of the Greater Western Carolinas chapter of JDRF, where I've served as a research information volunteer. And nationally, I'm on the research subcommittee for metabolic control for JDRF, and have participated in the past 2 years in the national research meetings where we work to set priorities and hear from all different areas of JDRF research. I want to take a few minutes to talk to you about a few exciting developments within research, because I think with everything going on in the headlines, it's important to bring back the critical work and the critical momentum that JDRF has had over the past year. We need to bring it back to the front burner. So coming up, there's been a lot of improvements and a lot of new introductions as far as devices go. Tandem has introduced their automated delivery system. Coming in the next year, you should be seeing, if you have not heard, the automated system from Omnipod teaming with Dexcom. And JDRF continues to promote open protocols where people have choices of devices, pairing together, customizing, picking the algorithms you want. And we're also looking forward to probably Dexcom bringing out next year, 2021, the next generation of CGMs, the G7, which is a disposable CGM, which is about the size of a quarter. So a lot of important work continues to happen on devices, and that was all the result and continues to be the result of direct JDRF involvement. Exciting developments over the past year in the area of prevention. We can now, by taking blood tests and testing for autoantibodies, a word that's very much in the news today, to see someone's likelihood of developing T1D. Some of you who may have children with T1D, you have one child that was diagnosed positive, has T1D, and you may have tested a sibling to see if they have the antibodies that would seem to indicate that they too will eventually have type 1 diabetes onset. So JDRF has been working in this area for a long time. Prevention, incredibly important. Prevention in most diseases happens before cure. It's easier to prevent something from happening than reversing something that already has. So when you think about vaccinations, a lot of those vaccinations that are widely thought of today are preventative vaccinations. The polio vaccine doesn't cure polio, it prevents it. The flu vaccine doesn't cure the flu, it helps prevent it. So we have been working with a number of drugs that are already out there. Verapamil, which is a high blood pressure drug, which seems to have some success. Gleevec, which is a leukemia drug, which seems to have some success in delaying the onset of T1D. A major step was made over the past year with the results of a JDRF supported trial with a drug called teplizumab. Incredibly exciting news is they basically took to a placebo trial group and then a group that was given this drug teplizumab, which included a 2-week infusion of the drug, no major side effects, no immune suppressions, and so forth. And both groups were groups that tested very high likelihood. They did an antibody test that they were going to get at some point T1D. So the high-risk group for the onset of T1D, you had one group teplizumab, another group given the placebo. The results were with the teplizumab group, the average time for onset of T1D, on average, onset was delayed by over 2 years compared to those groups that got the placebo. So on average, the onset with this drug, a simple infusion over a finite period of time, no side effects, the delay of the onset of T1D, an average of 2 years. Incredibly exciting. Trials continue on that to see if it can be extended. You check out the dosages. What if we use teplizumab in association with some of the other drugs that are out there like verapamil, and seeing exactly what we can do. But just think about being able to delay the onset of this chronic disease for on average 2 years. And then why is it working? So that leads to other discoveries and so forth. But a tremendous win, and work is continuing on teplizumab. So on the cure side, JDRF is somewhat focused on 2 pathways to a cure. And pathway number 1 is being able to replace the cells that were killed by the immune system, those beta cells that produce the insulin within the pancreas. Can we replace those, and then can we protect the cells? So path number 1 is the development of beta-like cells to replace the ones that have been destroyed by the immune system. There's not enough donor cells like from cadavers out there that make that feasible, and also JDRF does not believe that any long-term functional cure should involve the long-term use of immune suppression drugs, which have problems for them of themselves. So humongous, tremendous progress in the area of cell replacement. We now have the ability to take stem cells from a variety of sources and re-engineer them in the lab and make them into insulin-producing beta-like cells. That gives you an unlimited supply of replacement beta cells. One of the leaders in this area has been Dr. Doug Melton from Harvard University, who JDRF has been a long-term supporter of. He founded the name of his company, Semma, which was named after a combination of his 2 kids who have type 1, Sam and Emma. And he has been the leader in showing that we can re-engineer cells to form this function. He has had so much success, and there is so much progress being made and so much hope in that area that Semma was bought over the past, I think, about 6 months ago by a large pharma company named Vertex. Very well-known pharmaceutical company, paid $950 million for Semma. So large pharma doesn't spend close to $1 billion in an acquisition unless they see true progress, true hope, and a likelihood that this is going to develop into a meaningful treatment. There are other companies and other labs out there that are doing it their way. Biosites, who you may have heard of, which is a biotech company that JDRF has been a long-term supporter of, recently released the PEC Direct results. That's what they call their clinical trial, where they put in insulin-producing cells into the people participating in the clinical trial, and then were able to detect C-peptide in their circulation system. C-peptide is only produced when you have insulin-producing cells that are naturally producing insulin within the system. Those people who take synthetic insulin through pumps and shots and things like that don't have an indication of C-peptide in their circulatory system. So this showed that the cells that they were being implanted into people for this trial were able to produce insulin in a volume enough to then have evidence of C-peptide in the circulatory system. So part one of the cure pathway is an unlimited supply of cells that can be re-engineered and be available to implant in the system to replace those beta cells that were killed off in the pancreas. Hugely exciting news, huge progress, and we hope for even more progress. The second half of the road, or the second road, is the ability to protect these cells. So if you just implant them in the system, then the immune system is going to attack those cells just like they did the original cells. So how can we protect those cells? And there is a couple of different ways that JDRF, actually more than a couple, but several different ways that JDRF is looking at as far as protecting those cells. A word you hear a lot of is encapsulation. So again, ViaCytes has been very on the forefront of that. The idea of that is you take these insulin-producing cells, put them in some type of device, implant them in the system. The device lets the insulin go, release from it, but keeps the attacking agents from the immune system from attacking the cells. So some of it is encapsulated oriented. Some of it is coating each individual cell, so it is protected. And then we're also looking at different ways that we can understand better the immune system and figure out what is it that is triggering the immune system to attack these cells. JDRF does not work in a silo. So when I was in these past meetings in New York with our research committee, it was interesting because we did have people from outside disease areas to hear what is going on, kind of share their experiences. And one of those was an expert in cancer immunotherapies. And immunotherapies has been incredibly successful in the area of cancer. So we're learning from them, sharing information from them is what ways can we alter the immune system? What is triggering the immune system to attack these? And is there a way that we can alter that without long-term effect or exposing people to greater harm, like with immune suppression drugs? I talked to him at a break one time, and being a layperson, I said, can you please explain to me exactly what you do and how this works? And he said to me, in terms that I could actually understand, he said, think about cancer cells are kind of rogue cells that are going through the system, and around each cell is a don't eat me sign. And the don't eat me sign tells the immune system, don't eat me. So the cells grow, they proliferate, and hence the spread of cancer. Well, can we take that and kind of reverse that same natural phenomenon? Is what is there that is around the sign, around the neck of the beta cells in the pancreas that causes the immune system to attack or eat those cells up? And is there something that we can learn from the immunotherapies and the studies in cancer that kind of the immune system doesn't recognize those cells, and figure out and learn from that as to why that same immune system is attacking cells that they really shouldn't attack? So there's a lot of companies that are on the forefront of encapsulation and protecting these cells. One of them, Sigilon, which is a combination of researchers from MIT and Harvard. That is a company that was formed by very much an effort by JDRF to bring researchers together. Sigilon was just, I think it was last year, received a commitment of over $60 million from Eli Lilly to work on their efforts to help protect insulin-producing cells as they are implanted into the system. So why would one of the largest makers of insulin support to this degree a company that, if they're successful, is going to lead to what would eventually be a dramatic drop probably in the sale of insulin? Why? Because Eli Lilly recognizes that this is a doable thing. It has promise, it has hope, and if they're not on the forefront of this thing, then somebody else will. I always like to remind people with the proliferation of CGMs is my son, who has type 1 diabetes, when he was diagnosed 10 years ago, probably pricked his finger, 15 times a day. Now with a CGM, maybe he pricks it 1 or 2 times. So how would you like to be the owner of the company that made blood test strips and the whole industry has now passed you by? So Eli Lilly recognizes, just like Vertex realizes, if we're not on the front end of these very, very hopeful kind of treatments for the prevention, for what will hopefully be the cure of type 1 diabetes, someone else will be, and we will be left out on the cold. So from a functional cure standpoint, a lot of progress being made on the development of replacement cells that can be implanted in the body to replace those beta cells to produce insulin, and then a lot of progress being made on the second pathway, or the second half of that, as once we can implant those cells, once they can live in the system, how do we keep them viable and how do we protect them? What is the ultimate vision? The ultimate vision can be, for instance, an encapsulation. You go to your doctor, they take a device that's about the size of a regular Band-Aid. It is filled with insulin-producing cells. It gets planted underneath the skin. It stays there, and you are worry-free for up to 2 years. 2 years later, you go back, and in the doctor's office, they take that implant out, and they put a new one of fresh cells in. That's the vision. And it's important that we keep our focus on that vision. And just like we have in the past, during economic crises, 2008, during health crises, JDRF remains focused on the mission. And we have a lot of the advancements today because through the years, we've had that singular vision, that singular focus on the research for better treatments and ultimately the cure of type 1 diabetes. Hope this was helpful. I'll give you a little thumbnail sketch of some of the exciting things that have been occurring. Appreciate it.